The hardest things to downsize are the ones charged with memories. And because these things trigger emotions, they can stall or completely stop the progress of you decluttering.
We had to work really hard when we were downsizing everything we own in order to travel full time. So we've had experience. We're here to help. Let's dig in. I'm Judy.
And I'm Kevin. Welcome back to Find Gina Marie, where we share our lives as full-time travelers and the connections we make along the way. In our previous episodes, we suggested you save the sentimental items for later. It's later.
If you've been following along with us through the easy stuff that we've been tackling to get rid of, we're now ready to get through some of the tougher choices. We're going to break down the process step by step to make it a lot easier for you.
By now, you should have been working on building up your discard muscle, and it should be well developed.
In our Quick Wins episode, we talked about how beneficial it is for you to corral all of your sentimental items together in one place. And that's going to be really important because it's going to give you a really good visual of all of the things that you have to sort through. So if you haven't done that yet, we encourage you to do that first.
Curating your stuff is a good thing and can bring you some joy.
We have a few things to keep in mind as you're going through the process. Number one is we're emotional beings, and it's okay to be sentimental about a lot of your stuff. In some ways, it's a connection to your past and even to your identity. But conversely, if you have no sentimental attachment to your stuff, that's okay too. We aren't trying to turn you into robots or have you be unfeeling, but people are on all different parts of the scale in how comfortable this process is going to be.
We're trying to free up space in your home so you're not held hostage by clutter or your things. Remember, we're getting rid of the stuff, not the memories or the people associated with them.
When it comes to gifts, don't let them be a burden to you. I would never dream of giving somebody a gift and expect them to hold on to it for 20, 30, 50 years long after the item has served its purpose.
Be wise even with the sentimental stuff. Remember, some things are going to be harder than others. And what you're trying to do is build that discard muscle. So start with the easiest stuff you can and then work your way through it.
We also had to keep in mind why we were doing this. We wanted to travel full time. We wanted a life of freedom. And this was the most freeing thing that we could do. When you're going through this process, you may find that friends and family have all sorts of opinions about what you're doing. What I had to keep in mind was that what other people thought of me was none of my business.
Guilt is insidious and doesn't do anyone any good. If the only reason you're holding on to stuff is because of guilt, then that's the wrong reason to have anything in your life.
Your future is full of freedom and adventure. Don't allow any of your stuff to prevent you from having those experiences.
Let's go through some curation tips. These apply to everything, but especially heirloom items and gifts.
As you go through your items, ask yourself, does this item hold any sentimental memories for me? Some memories are neutral or even bad ones. You don't need to keep those things.
Do you even have your own memories of the item you're holding on to? Some items are just old and you're hanging on to them because they've been around for a while. That has no emotional attachment to you. Why are you keeping it?
A good example of this is a white milk vase that my mother always used to have in an open corner cupboard in our kitchen. And she used to use it occasionally when someone gave her flowers. And I have good memories of that vase, and I've had it in my home. But when I was going through things and asked my daughter if she wanted it, she didn't. And actually it was quite wise because she had no memories of her own about this vase. So all she would have done was hold on to something that had a memory to me, but it really had no attachment for her. So I enjoyed it. We have a picture of it, and I donated it to someone else who will find joy out of it.
And that brings up the point, would this item be appreciated more by someone else?
And that goes for gifts too. If you received something that you know was precious from someone, and if you think that that friend would appreciate having that item back, go ahead and give them the opportunity to take it back from you. But at the same time, remember that gifts were freely given to you, so you don't owe them to anybody. And if you feel like it will just be an easier, less confrontational thing to just donate it or give it away somewhere or sell it, you have the freedom to do that.
And as you're trying to give these things to other people, don't be surprised if they don't want them. They don't have any emotional attachment to them. They may not like how they look. There's no insult or injury for any of this. You're just trying to unload your stuff. you might have to do it another place.
We give you permission to get rid of anything that is no longer serving the life that you're having today. It doesn't matter who gave it to you or how special they are in your life or were in your life. We aren't getting rid of the people. We are just getting rid of the stuff. The memories you'll still have forever. It may be helpful to employ some self-talk as you're going through the process. Just remind yourself, the person who gave it to me would want me to be bringing joy from it, not guilt. Also, if this is really hard for you, again, bring a friend in to help who doesn't have the emotional connection to some of your stuff, and they will make it a lot easier for you to go through the process.
And you may even be able to share some stories with them, relive the memories, and make it easier just to let go. This begs the question, can I keep anything? Well, if you're like us and you're planning to get rid of everything so you can travel full time, the answer is no, because anything you want to keep has to be stored somewhere. And if no one's going to keep it for you, you have to spend money to keep that stuff.
And that could be really expensive over any significant amount of time. If you're keeping a home base and are just downsizing for retirement, you can keep a few more things, but still you have to make it manageable. And one of the best ways is to have the container guide how much you can keep. It should be something that's small and clear that you can lift with two hands, put into your car, and take it with you in some sort of emergency, because that's what it's all about, right? You're saying that this is your most precious stuff and you want to have it with you. You may have an entire collection of angels, but really just find one and keep that. You don't need 100 of them.
And if you have a collection that you're reducing down to just a few items, these become very precious and very special. And instead of putting them away in a box, maybe they become something that you display on a shelf proudly.
An important point when you're embarking on this process is to not downsize other people's sentimental items.
You're downsizing your stuff, not theirs. If you're holding on to something that's somebody else's, you should give it back to them. Especially if it's like family members that you're storing their stuff, that's all their responsibility. It's not yours. Hand it off and let them deal with it.
In fact, in the case of our sons, they had said, oh, they didn't want any of their memorabilia. Well, you know what? I went ahead and sent them to my respective children anyway and let them be the people to decide to throw out their memories. I did not want it to come back against me that I threw out their childhood memories. I wanted them to be making those decisions for themselves. So as you go through every single thing in your home that has sentimental value, I want you to flip the script and decide that you're only going to keep the best of the best. What's common, especially let's say with pictures, that's an easy example, is you get rid of the blurry ones and the duplicates and the ones that are not attractive, and then you keep the rest. But you probably have way too much of those things. If instead you curate it down to this birthday party, and these are my favorite 3 pictures from that event, now you have the best of the best. Do that with all of your stuff, and it's going to make things so much easier for you.
Whether you're going through photos or cards or memorabilia or old children's projects, the same rules apply. You're going to pick out the best of the best. You're picking out your favorite items only.
And especially when it comes to photos, if you don't know the people who are in it, don't keep those photos.
It goes back to just because they're old doesn't mean they're precious. They're just old.
The more you keep, the more clutter you'll have. And that's going to prevent you from having the freedom that you're going to get from going through this curation process.
You've heard that old maxim, take a picture, it'll last longer. Well, if you've gone through this process and selected the best of the best, digitizing your prized items will go very quickly.
Our son just turned 35 a couple of days ago, and I went ahead and went through my entire film roll with all of the pictures of him in them. There were 1,950 photos, and I curated 82 of them to send to him for his birthday so that he could enjoy looking at some of his old birthday memories. We still have a box of physical photos that we didn't have a chance to finish curating when we were still living in San Francisco. So that is hanging over our heads a bit because we didn't know this idea of best of the best.
Right.
And it would have saved us so much time. Now I'm only thinking if we would have gone ahead and digitized all 5,000 of those photos or however many there are, That would have been way too much for me to even go through to curate 82 photos out of. I probably would have run out of steam before I got to the end of all of the pictures.
And that's the point here. We did it wrong, so learn from our mistake. We ran out of steam and time because we didn't just pick the best photos. I started skipping the ones that were blurry, or I wasn't sure what was in them, or they were misaligned. The wrong way to do it. If I would have picked a handful of photos that were great, those would have been digitized before we left, and this would not have been hanging over our heads. Was there anything that we got rid of that we regret?
Yes, one box of memorabilia. And they were kids' items, things that they made, maybe some cards over the years. But I had to make a choice because we were running out of time. And did I want to deal with the photographs or did I want to deal with that box of items? And I made the decision that I was going to get rid of the box of those sentimental items. Now, I wouldn't have wanted to keep them. I just would have wanted to have time to curate them. But I didn't know about this curating process. So I just went ahead and threw the box in the trash, felt guilty, felt like I was telling the world that I was a horrible parent. Of course I'm not. My kids' stuff isn't important as the memories that I have of them growing up. That is really what the memories are in my life, not the stuff that they gave to me.
And the kids don't care because they don't remember making that stuff. We would ask them about some of the things. They're like, I don't know what that is. So let's ask you then. Are there sentimental items that you've gotten rid of that you regret? Let us know in the comments. Now, we had a box of videos that were from the kids' early years, all different types, VHS, 8mm, all kinds of stuff. We got rid of that quickly by giving it to a service that digitized those. They gave us back a USB memory stick. We had all the memories in a little digital form, and I had to do nothing except make sure that when I sent this box of precious tapes to them, that I sent it with tracking and everything else. They took care of the rest. They returned the important stuff. And now we just carry around a little USB stick. We don't have to box of tapes that never got looked at anyway. If you already have a photo scanner, that's a good thing to use to get your photos in digital format. If you have a printer that maybe can scan, that's great too. But you can also just purchase an app that allows you to use your phone as a scanner. And the upside to that is if you have your photos in an album and you're trying to scan those, ripping them out of the album is slow and painful. To put them on a scanner, yeah, we did that process. Annoying. As long as your lighting's good, these apps that allow you to scan photos, let you retouch them and everything else, you'll have great digital copies.
And there's services such as iMemory and Legacy Box that will do that for you. And they'll also digitize your photos as well. Now that can be kind of expensive, between 50 cents and 99 cents a piece. If you are curating to the best of the best, that might be the most efficient method to use. But some people still aren't comfortable sending them off. And if that's you, then go ahead and invest in a scanner and you can scan them yourself one by one.
Memorabilia and your kids' old projects are easy to digitize. You basically take a photo or photos of them with your phone and now you have them forever. And once you have them in a digital format, you can do all kinds of things with them. In the future, you can put them together as a special memory. You can slideshow it. There are so many things you can do with something that's digital versus something that's stuck in a box and in some back closet.
Regardless of whether you have kids or not, you probably have your own memorabilia. Well, it's okay at this stage of your life to be letting go of those things. One of the things that struck me when I was very young was a lawyer friend of mine who I worked with, who after a long, illustrious career was getting ready to retire. And on his last day, he took all of the awards and physical accolades that he had decorating his office, and he literally threw them all in the trash. And I couldn't believe it. But when I think about it, he didn't need all of that stuff to define him. He knew he was an excellent lawyer. He didn't need all of that clutter to go with him and take up space in his retirement.
And we know that even clothing can have memories. There may be a reason why you bought even a t-shirt or some special jacket or something that you wore to a certain occasion. All these things have these thoughts and things that cling to them. And the clothing may never be used again, or it may not be precious, or may be actually worn out and you're just keeping it because of that single memory.
I had certain clothes that were a little hard to get rid of because they were a super hard to find color, or they fit really well, or I just really liked how I looked in that particular outfit. And there were memories in certain clothes. But at the same time, styles change and some things no longer fit. Sometimes they're threadbare. I didn't need to hold on to the stuff. The memories didn't go away. I went ahead and just took a moment, appreciated the clothes and how they served me, and then I was able to move on from them.
And to wrap up, dealing with sentimental items does not have to be overwhelming. Curating your belongings and focusing on what truly brings you joy will free you from the burden of hanging on to stuff and let you enjoy the memories and cherish the moments that you've had.
So we're challenging you to flip the narrative. Don't look at it as you're letting all of your precious items go. You're not. You're keeping the stuff that is most important to you, either digitized or physical copies, but it's much, much less of it. And you are empowering yourself to be able to live the life of your dreams.
Because you have less stuff, you have less burdens in your life, and you have more options. You can do what you want to do. And if you have digital copies of your memories and cherished items, now you have even more options with those too.
Remember, it's not about discarding your past. It's about honoring it and moving forward in your life. We hope this episode has been helpful for you. If there's any questions you have about downsizing and retirement, we would love to hear them.
And check out findinggmarie.com. We have tons of articles, downloads to help you with your downsizing process, and a community forum.
Until next time.
Until next time.